Hello, good morning, maybe good afternoon, good evening, and potentially good night, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to CNET Live. This is Apple's big event. September 2021, we're expecting not just one iPhone 13, but potentially even 4, maybe an Apple Watch and some other goodies in store. Now, the keynote itself, the Apple keynote, will kick off at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, we will be talking you through all of the rumors, leaks, speculation, and lots of fun stuff leading up to the Apple keynote at 10 a.m. Pacific. And then when the clock strikes 10 or 1 p.m. Eastern, we will give you the signal to head on over to watch the Apple stream live. Now, unfortunately, we are not allowed to restream the Apple keynote. However, what we will be doing is talking you live through all of the rundown of the event and keeping you up to date. So, you know, when things get a little bit slow during the keynote, you can open up this tab and come back and keep company with us here on CNET Live. My name is Lexi Savides. It's so nice to have your company today. And let's give a big warm welcome to the CNET crew who will be joining me today. We have Claire, 120 Hertz Riley. Nice to see you. We have Bridget, Touch ID for Life, Carey, and we have Patrick Slabula Holland. Welcome to CNET Live. It's so good to have you all here. So before we get started, I did mention we were expecting an iPhone 13, maybe a bunch of other iPhones, kind of similar to what we had last year, an Apple Watch, maybe some iPads, maybe some other surprises too, like AirPods. But before we start, let's look at this actual Tim Cook tweet that he tweeted this morning. Now, this was a photo that was giving us a bit of a hint towards California streaming. Let's take a look. Now, I don't know what this looks like to you. Does this kind of mean that we're going to get, you know, some Joshua Tree references somewhere? Or I think, as a couple of people have speculated, a new U2 album bundled with maybe the new iPhone. Patrick, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I don't want another U2 album. Please don't give it to me free.
I think old Patrick would go YouTube album and be horrified, and current Patrick thinks more. I'm hoping that this is like an answer to the Sony Xperia Pro, which probably most people have no idea what that is, but it was a phone that came out this year that was designed for 5G 4K streaming, so I could plug in my fancy camera into the phone and stream it over 5G and a broadcast. So I don't know if that's a reference to how they're doing this or an iPhone feature that they're going to announce. Or it could just be Bono on the edge needs some money, so they get an album.
Well, lots of speculation. I'm sure we will have something to look forward to in terms of some epic scenery, at least. And I like the idea of some camera features on the iPhone. Okay, let's talk iPhone first. This is the big ticket event that we've all been waiting for. Now, Bridget, why don't you give us a bit of a kind of laundry list of all of the main rumors and features that we are potentially expecting on the new iPhone?
Yeah, this is everything we're kind of gathering from all of the rumors and things analysts say. So when you add it all up and what's a stronger rumor than others, it looks like we're getting something that feels like the same kind of lineup we got for the iPhone 12, where we're getting a Pro, a Pro Max, and a Mini. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a big design change in terms of like just something very drastic. You know, it looks like you're still going to get your same ports to charge and such. But there are some small changes and some that might change your experience. For example, we're hearing a lot about 120 hertz refresh rate on a high-end phone like the Pro. What does that mean? It means they're going to have twice as fast refresh rates. And it'd be interesting to see how Apple talks about that experience and how they can make sure the battery doesn't drain, because twice as fast refreshing could mean, you know, it could need more juice to do what it's got to do. So I'd be interested to see how they talk about that, if that rumor's true. Also, there's talk about satellite functionality. Now, I haven't seen that Tim Cook tweet before, but I'm telling you right now, that's got to be them going out in the middle of the desert showing you that you can make an emergency call without a cell phone or wireless typical reception, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a California person, so maybe I'm wrong, but that's my guess if they are going to talk about this rumor. And then, and if you're wondering why would there be satellite functionality, I think they have to do something to make it a little exciting, because most people are like, well, what do you mean? I can get reception wherever. But I think it's the point that you can maybe get it somewhere you haven't gotten it before. There's also talk about a possible smaller front notch. I wouldn't call this a drastic change from what people are talking about, like just a little bit shrunk a little bit. So that's the front-facing camera. And of course, it wouldn't be new iPhones if we didn't get something that has a little more oomph to it. So there's talk about an A15 upgraded processor.
All right, so lots of, I guess, some upgrades there. The satellite functionality, I think, to me, is the most interesting kind of big ticket feature that we might get, or we might potentially see it announced today and then kind of a full release or an unveiling later next year. Okay, so those are kind of some of the overarching big kind of, hot ticket items that we're expecting on the iPhone 13. But I want to talk a bit about, it's easy to talk about rumors and leaks, they're all over the internet. But Claire, let's talk about things that you actually want to see on the iPhone. Like, I want to get your wish list, the things that would actually make you get an iPhone, because this is interesting. You're actually one of those people that are considering switching from Android to iOS, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I have been an Android user for a couple of years now. I haven't been lifetime Android. I kind of flick between the two, but there's just been a few little things that have kind of had me, I don't know, eye-curious this year. And, annoyances with Android, some little quirks, things that I'm like, maybe I want to try this out for a bit on iPhone. So I'm a Mac user. I'm kind of half in the ecosystem. But today's event, I'm actually going to be watching for the first time in a couple of years, maybe as a potential buyer. So things for me on my wish list, battery life is a really big one. I've been using the Galaxy S20 Ultra, which has a 5,000 milliampere hour battery. That's huge. I kind of was like, okay, so I'll do a bit of a spec comparison. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is why I see my iPhone friends constantly plugging in throughout the day. It's because the battery life is a lot lower. And of course, in past models, that's been a problem. There's talk today that it'll up it. So I think the numbers that I was reading, here we go, 2,400 for the iPhone 13 mini, up to 3,095 for the iPhone 13 and Pro, and then potentially 4,300 milliampere hours for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now that's, once again, a rumor, a leak, so we don't know if that's true, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on battery life today. I'm also interested in storage because obviously iPhone is not an expandable storage. And of course, some of the later, more recent Galaxy phones haven't had that kind of installable SD card to expand the storage, which has been a bit of a bummer. But potentially they're going to nix the 64 gig base storage option and potentially go up to 1 terabyte for the really top of the line models. So I guess that's something I'm really keen to see, what kind of storage. And of course, the big one for me is camera. So I was at the park the other day with some friends, and I think we actually have the photo. A friend of mine took a photo. Thank you, CP, for taking this photo of my dog and I. Yeah, that's my beautiful, precious angel, Buffy. He's the treasure who must be protected at all costs. But yeah, I was just amazed by this photo that my friend took, and I was like, wow, this is, and there wasn't any screwing around with settings. I think the camera on iPhone has always been user friendly, but there's some kind of more pro modes that I'm hoping to see this year. And that is, one example would be ProRes. So that's video shooting. Obviously, we're on the video team here at CNET. Super keen to see some really high-end shooting modes, potentially keeping the quality of footage with this ProRes codec. That doesn't mean you have to kind of compress all the good stuff out of it. It's like an orange. It's like, a juice loosener situation. I'm sorry that I just mimed the orange juice loosener. Patrick, talk to me about ProRes, because I know this is something you're going to be able to much better describe than me, and why you really want it, because this is the one that you kind of put me onto.
I'm still shocked by the mime you just did. That was really insane. No, I would think, with ProRes is a very exciting thing. I always like to think of it like if you had a piece of paper and you were folding it to put in an envelope. If you fold it a lot, the more you fold it, the more creases you're going to have when you take it out. So you have something like H.264, which has been on all of our phones all the time for a long time, H.265. ProRes just has less folds in it, so to speak. So that means you're going to be able to have a little more flexibility when it comes to like color grading your video, as well as it's ready, it's optimized, it's ready to go for almost all major consumer software editing things like Adobe Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro 10, and DaVinci Resolve. I do hope this, I won't get into my speculation that if they did announce ProRes support coming to the iPhone, that this could also mean that we might see some support come to the iPad for that eventually, which could mean that we could get some desktop level editing apps and ProRes support in those apps on the iPad Pro, especially that M1 one. Another exciting rumor, is the type of screen. So Bridget talked about a high refresh rate screen. And what's cool about that is you've never seen a high refresh rate screen in person, is everything just looks like so smooth. All the animations look smooth. It's not like, you don't get that herky-jerky kind of thing going on when you're scrolling. It looks kind of like a piece of paper almost, especially great if you're playing a video game. So the fact that this is finally coming to the iPhone, and it's going to be called, they're going to probably call it like something like ProMotion, but the type of display is called LTPO, which means low temperature polycrystalline oxide. Say that 5 times. And what we saw this on some Android phones come out earlier this year, most notably on the Galaxy S21 Ultra. And when I reviewed it, I was amazed by how bright the screen was. I believe the contrast ratio was 3 million to 1 versus the, 2 million to 1 we have on the current iPhone. And the other cool thing about it was it's more energy efficient. So going back to Claire's point about wanting that battery life, want to live the hashtag battery life, I think you might be able to do that if we see that LTPO screen come to this, or they're going to probably call it ProMotion. And I want to caveat all of this saying this is all based on rumors and leaks, and until it comes out of Bono's mouth or Tim Cook's mouth or Tim Apple's mouth at Joshua Tree today, we probably don't know. So it's going to be very exciting either way.
Well, that's going to happen in 15 minutes or so until the Apple keynote kicks off. We will give you the heads up when that event starts live, of course. Up until then, we are talking you through all the news, rumors, leaks, speculation, and fun stuff. And you can tweet us any questions that you have at CNET Live on Twitter. That's the hashtag you can use, and we will check in throughout the show and answer some of your questions. Now, let's keep talking a little bit about some of those camera specs that we are potentially expecting, Patrick. I want to talk a little bit about this supposed cinematic video. Now, this is for me, this is one of those features that I have been asking for a very, very long time. And I know the reason why it hasn't been implemented on the iPhone is probably because they've been waiting to try and make it as good as it can be, because on some Android phones, I love it, but it's not exactly useful if you're doing anything with sort of movement or motion. So I'm talking about that blurred background effect that you get when you are shooting, say, like portrait mode for video. What are your thoughts? Is this something that is just me that wants this, or do you think there's actually demand out there for other people, Patrick?
I don't know if there's demand, but it's like a nice to have. I think what really got me excited was iOS 15 when it launched or got announced in June at WWDC. They previewed FaceTime, and one of the cool features of that was it had portrait mode. And you were sitting there thinking like, if FaceTime can have portrait mode, why can't my video on the iPhone have it? And if you ever shot a portrait mode photo, you know that the live preview is essentially a video. So, I mean, it's like everything just seems lined up for that. And then going back to, I forget if it was Claire or Bridget who was talking about the storage sizes, clearly having something like portrait video or ProRes video, as I keep bringing up, those are going to be very large files. So you're going to need a lot more storage on your iPhone. But I think portrait mode video would look really cool. I'm curious to see how it's implemented, and if it's just limited to people, or can I do it with objects or pets? How cool would portrait mode video? How cool would that photo look like if it was a video that Claire's friend took of Claire and her dog? That would be pretty cool.
I agree. That would be pretty good. The thing is, though, I do remember, was it the 10R, I think, that launched without portrait mode photo support for pets? And I was very upset about this because, trying to take a portrait mode video of anything moving, whether that's a kid or a pet, is, a portrait mode photo of a kid or a pet is really, really difficult. Adding a video onto that, is going to be another layer of trouble, I'm sure. But I hope the portrait mode video is going to be for everything, not just humans, because, we want everything to look cinematic, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that iPhone XR had just a single rear camera, whereas as we know, the iPhone 12 lineup, the fewest number of cameras on an iPhone on the backside is 2. So I think we should be good with that, because the 2 cameras kind of help it separate that depth if you're not familiar with how it works.
That's right. All right. Well, let's move on to the other speculated big product that we are potentially going to see today at the California Stream and Keynote, which is a new Apple Watch. So this potentially could be, well, we're expecting it's going to be called the Apple Watch Series 7 because it's the next number in the lineup. But this one's interesting because this is actually going to be potentially a completely new design as opposed to the Series 6, 5 and 4 before it. So the Apple Watch was redesigned with the Series 4. It was also the model that gave us ECG, or the electrocardiogram, and it kind of did break a lot of ground in that way. But it hasn't had a redesign since then. So now I guess we are potentially going to see a new slabular looking Apple Watch. That's Patrick's favorite word. I have to keep saying it because I think it's fantastic. It's the square-edged Apple Watch potentially we're going to see. Now, as I mentioned, a new design, potentially as you're seeing now on screens, some new actual band sizes and new sizes for the actual face itself. So the Apple Watch was 40 millimeters, it's hard to say 40 millimeters and 44 millimeters. Now it might be 41 millimeters and 45 millimeters. As well as having a new lamination technique to bring the screen a little closer to the actual glass on top. And of course, hopefully reducing some of those bezels to give you even more screen real estate. Now, as someone, Bridget, I know you've been using the Apple Watch a lot throughout the pandemic. What do you think Apple needs to do to entice you to, upgrade? Or are you even interested in kind of upgrading an Apple Watch if it's based on just, another iterative update? Or are you looking for more health features? Like, how do you use your Apple Watch?
This is an interesting question because I actually, as much as I, followed Apple Watch news before we all kind of like went into not just working from home, but living at home, I didn't ever need an Apple Watch, right? I figured, I just get everything on my phone anyways, who cares? Then when it became, I have to balance constant work and constant kids, I swore by this thing because I was able to not miss a message. And it just kind of made that like split brain management a little bit better. No matter what room I was in, I felt like I was still connected to stuff and not knowing where did I leave my phone. Now, I might upgrade because naturally by now I have I think it's 5 where it's always on. So I didn't get last year's, it was the one before that. And it's a little scratched up by now. So like naturally, the wear and tear makes you go, maybe it's time for another one. But I want durability, in this lifestyle I have. I want to make sure that if I'm going to upgrade, sell me on like how this thing is stronger. That would be nice because I don't really need necessarily a new design that I'm still going to nick, easier or whatnot. And I am not someone who is really influenced by a lot of different types of health tracking, but I like to see something that's useful and not just like another metric that I'm not sure what to do with. I think that's a problem right now in smartwatches. We have a lot of metrics and I'm going, all right, well, that's nice. I know I don't get sleep. What else is new? That kind of thing. So I want to see how the usability and durability are upgraded more, because I feel like the sad part is, as much as I love the fact that the Apple Watch has helped me kind of keep tabs on a duality life, I also am having a moment where I want to take a break. I'm looking forward to the features in iOS 15 that can maybe help me calm down the notifications, because I'm going, maybe I had too much or so.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there in terms of, smartwatches give us so much data, but no one has really kind of made it really easy to interpret and take action on all of that data. I mean, yes, you can get things like sleep metrics, but in terms of, okay, how do I actually improve my sleep? what can I do beyond going to bed earlier? It's very difficult for, I think, a lot of people, myself included, as someone who tests lots of smartwatches and fitness trackers, to know what to do with all of that information. So I think you're right. I would love to see Apple doing something to help kind of users interpret all of that information. And in terms of other new sensors and fitness features, I don't think we're expecting anything today, even though there are sort of long rumored features like a blood pressure monitor, something like a blood glucose monitor, which, Claire, I know that is something that you're particularly interested in. You know, I mean, how do you use a wearable, or are these fitness features or sort of health sensor features something that you actually gravitate towards? Are they big selling points for you, or do you think that it's more just like, I don't really need all of this extra bells and whistles. I just want to get notifications from my phone and, you know, track my steps?
Yeah, I think, I think I was saying yesterday, like, if they put a blood glucose monitor on the Apple Watch, I would throw my current phone in the ocean, go out and immediately buy an Apple Watch and an iPhone tomorrow. So I have low blood sugar, and it's constantly something where I often realize, like, too late that I need to be managing that. But if I had something on my wrist that could kind of detect that before I feel the physical symptoms, that would be a game changer. This has been something that, like, affects pretty much every aspect of my life. Having a wearable that could track that would be, I can't even tell you how big that would be for me. So something like that, that would be a huge thing. Things like sleep tracking, yes, although you're right, like, how do you change it? Probably take off your Apple Watch so you're getting fewer notifications and less screen time towards bed when you're supposed to be chilling out. So I think everyone is slightly different. I certainly know sleep tracking is one that's really interesting for me, but of course, sleep tracking is only as useful as the battery life that you have on the device. So if you don't have a long battery life and that you want to be charging it overnight, how useful is, really detailed sleep tracking on your watch? I think for me, when I did use the Apple Watch a couple of years ago, I just became a real completionist with closing rings. Like, I was such a basic person that I was like, look, the circle is almost closed, and that is how I know that I have achieved for the day. I think some of that basic stuff is still so helpful. I do want to redesign, and a lot of my interest is going to be very much focused. I was a little bit disappointed with the Galaxy Watch. So when that came out, I was really keen, and I was like, this could be the one that I buy. I watched all of our reviews. Scott went really in depth with it, and I was pinging him because that's the convenience we have at CNET. I can just, like, shoot him off a DM and be like, Scott, what are your thoughts on this? But I found that there were a couple of elements that were just lacking. And even though it had that, Samsung and Google kind of interface locked together, still wasn't really clean. The beauty of the Apple Watch is still that it's just all in that one ecosystem. But I think, yeah, we are, even though I'm the basic ring closer, I think we're beyond those simple elements now of just getting notifications on the wrist. I think people are starting to look towards more how this wearable can become a more kind of holistic part of their life. So sensors will be part of that, longer battery life will be part of that, and just as long as it's not too chonky on the wrist. I've got small wrists, so I am concerned, even though it's 1 millimeter. I mean, Lexi, you're talking about 1 millimeter difference there. Every millimeter counts. So I will be watching closely with my tape measure, just to make sure that they don't push the envelope too much there.
That's the technical term, chonky. Two things I wanted to agree with you on. Battery life, oh my goodness, the Apple Watch does need to get better than 1.5 days of battery life. And that's if you really push it and do sleep tracking and turn off always on and all of that. So more battery life, please. And also, I would love to see a mode for actually, having a rest day, because as you say, closing your rings can make you a little bit compulsive in wanting to keep doing it every day. And if you're sick or if you physically need to have a rest day, there's no option to be like, you know what, I would like to take today off and not have my rings be incomplete for the day. Anyway, let's talk quickly about iOS 15, because Patrick, you've been covering it and using it ever since the beta has come out. Are there any kind of hints as to what we might expect in terms of extra functionality from what you've seen in the iOS 15 beta? Or do you think that this is actually something that, obviously a lot of people are going to be putting iOS 15 on their older devices. Have you kind of had any experiments with older devices, seeing how they run the beta and how much more refreshed they'll feel? Maybe you won't need to get a new phone?
Well, two things. First, Claire, when you throw your phone in the ocean, can you let me know what ocean that is and what beach? Because I might just grab your phone from you because I think you have a pretty cool phone. That being said, I think, yeah, iOS 15 is a bunch of small and medium-sized things that add up to something big. And yeah, there are like splashy features like FaceTime, and I mentioned before, like the portrait mode video on that. That might mean something else for the iPhone. The other thing I like about the September event is the fact that we're probably going to see some iOS 15 features that we haven't seen yet in the beta because they're geared specifically for the iPhone 13 or whatever this new iPhone is going to be called and its hardware. But as far as using iOS 15, I've really enjoyed it. And I think for me, the two big features I love is a thing called focus mode. And I think you could probably put a compilation clip together of tech outlets calling it like do not disturb mode on steroids. But it really allows you so much more functionality to not only silence things, communicate that in the background to friends, family, and coworkers, but also set scheduled focuses and even hide apps. So if I have like a work mode, I can hide my Instagram and social media stuff. So I'm not tempted to look at that when I'm working, and I could set it that only my boss can contact me and not maybe my family during that time. So it's going to be, I think, a really significant feature. I think another thing I really like about iOS 15 is there's all these abilities to enable and turn off features. So if you don't want anything to change on your phone when you install this update, you don't have to. You can just leave things off. And one thing that comes to mind is in Safari, the tab bar, if you follow this at all remotely into tech journalism, then you know the tab bar has moved from the top of the phone to the bottom, which yay for one-handed use. And Apple really took its time refining it and trying to find what features they want to put at the bottom. And thank goodness, I think where we're at today is a good in-between. As far as older phones, I have not tested it on anything older than an iPhone 8, which is like, what, 3-4 years old at this point? And it runs well. I think Apple did a good job at scaling back certain features. So like some of those FaceTime features I was describing, that's not going to be on every phone that runs iOS 15. And I think that's really smart.
All right, we are probably less than 2 minutes away from the Apple keynote starting live. Now, Patrick, you need to go and watch this, but before you do, I want to get your thoughts on MagSafe. Are we going to see anything extra today, do you think?
I like MagSafe quite a bit. I think there's so much more potential than we saw with MagSafe when it got announced last year. And some of the accessories I saw that Apple launched are interesting because Apple has full access to MagSafe. So if rumors hold true and there's some sort of like version 2.0, in which case maybe the magnets are stronger, I would just be happy with slightly faster charging, especially with some of the charging pads and stuff. That would be exciting. And of course, I can't imagine Apple making that Gen 1 obsolete right away, but hopefully they don't and they're able to work it as backwards compatible. So yeah, MagSafe, lots of potential. Let's see what happens, Apple.
I know. I'm excited to see it. You know, there's been rumors about that portless iPhone since, day dot. Basically, I feel like I've been talking about the portless iPhone since, 2019, 2018. So going to be interesting to see if Apple's getting us ready for a portless free future. Not maybe this time, but maybe, later on down the track. Anyway, Patrick, it is 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. You are going to go and watch the keynote. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will catch you later. Bye, Patrick.
Bye-bye.
All right. As I said, it is 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. The Apple keynote is about to kick off. Now, as I said, we are not allowed to restream Apple's keynote. I'm very sad about that. But what you will need to do to watch the keynote is to open up another tab, go to apple.com or go to Apple's YouTube page and watch the stream there. It is starting right now. So this is your big warning. Go and watch it because we are going to be talking through it. We are not allowed to restream it. So it is starting now. Open up another tab and come back to us if things get a little bit slow. But we'll be talking you through it anyway. All right, ladies, it is Ladies Hour here on CNET Live. I'm so pumped to do this with you. I'm so excited.
They were my Ladies Hour eyebrows.
Love it. All right, we are starting with a beautiful, a vista of a woman singing in some trees, cutting to a man in, I think, in New York City, playing piano on the street.
They're cool.
And
What
then,
also looks like California, like, yeah, I think, is it different places in California too, or just all over the world? Like, that's what I'm curious about.
well, I wasn't sure if the guy playing on the street was in New York, but maybe it was in LA.
Oh yeah, now I
don't know.
see. Yeah, now I see other places.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm
So
seeing some
you're
famous
right
people
though.
there.
And here is San
Gigi
Francisco.
Bridge.
We saw the sale. Isn't it sad that in San Francisco, that now instead of the Golden Gate Bridge, it's literally the Salesforce Tower that is the iconic thing in the skyline. I'm sad about that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm interested. We were talking about MagSafe before, Lexi, just while we get these glamorous opening shots that are kind of not showing us anything really. I just saw a comment. I'm kind of keeping an eye on the YouTube comments in the chat. Keep it nice, people, you know, let's all chill there. But I saw a great comment there. Someone saying, from Mike, I work in a phone store and 99% of people don't know what MagSafe is. So it's a really important thing to remember. Like when we're talking about all these accessories coming out, actually people going in to buy the iPhone, if someone says, hey, so what MagSafe stuff do you want? How much recognition is there for that kind of whole line of products? Maybe this portless iPhone, maybe it's a little bit too soon. I don't know. Hard to tell.
I
Yeah,
got the special case that has the MagSafe backing, and I just haven't found the motivation to buy the accessories to use it for anything. So now I'm sitting going like, yeah, MagSafe with nothing. I need some reason to use it, I guess, because I already have the cords next to my bed and the cords next to my desk. So I'm like, all right, I'll wait to upgrade all the accessories. So maybe they'll give me something today that is a cool reason to buy some wireless charging accessories and reasons maybe some like MagSafe magnets from my fridge, just I don't know.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, the thing is with MagSafe, we'll talk about this a bit later, but it's slow, right? It's slow. So Tim Cook is starting off, as expected, with some Apple TV Plus announcements, talking about all the Emmys that they've won. Yeah, we know Ted Lasso's popular. Okay, we got that.
Thank goodness for Ted Lasso, because for a while there was Apple TV Plus was kind of looking a little bit grim, and, there were a couple of titles, but anytime I talked to someone about it, because I didn't have a subscription, people were like, yeah, there's a few things, the morning show, it's all right. But yeah, now Ted Lasso is the one to watch on there. So thank goodness they got that big flagship title, but I think they're still going to need more stuff.
Yeah. And
having the free, I was going to say having it be free, people who bought a new device really helps, I think. At least give people, a chance to check it out. But yeah, they if people need a little bit more. Oh, well, they have Jon Stewart they're talking about, So there's stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm excited about Jon Stewart. I mean, I have to say that, it's interesting that Apple is starting off with something that's very user-focused. So rather than talking about hardware first, rather than talking about anything about the company, really, it's about stuff that consumers are going to be interested in, and maybe people that are not even interested in a new iPhone. They're literally like, oh, I want to see what Apple does. And this is kind of, very, palatable. Be like, oh, yeah, streaming. It's almost a bit like an upfronts. Be like, look at all the shows that we're getting. Look at all of the content that you'll be able to consume rather than the device. And then hoping that this will hook people in. So I think that's just interesting to see how they're doing it. But also just a heads up, if you're still with us and you're expecting the Apple keynote, we are not restreaming it. So please open up another tab and you can watch it in that, because I know a lot of people get upset when we can't restream it. Me too. I'm upset too. But please be aware that you can watch it on apple.com or on Apple's YouTube channel right now. But we are talking you through it. So just FYI. But if you're hanging out with us, thank you.
Welcome.
We love it. Love to see it. Welcome.
It's so interesting, Lexi, you're talking about the upfronts, and I think it's interesting. 5 years ago, would we have seen an Apple event starting with TV shows? That's just a real sign of the shift. Obviously, Apple's long been known for hardware, but it's all about selling the subscriptions, selling the content, selling the, you can only buy a new device every however many years, but you can pay for content or subscriptions or the kind of services. Well, that's a kind of an infinite pool that they can tap into. So, and we're seeing iPad now. So we did have people earlier in the comments asking when was iPad happening. Obviously today we're expecting a lot of big news around iPhone, but good to see that iPad is becoming more versatile.
I'm nervous. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? I'll tell you why I'm nervous. Because I bought an iPad mini for the kids for this whole, entertainment at home, education at home. It's been great for my 5-year-old. And I hope they don't make it something that isn't, how do I put this? I think they should make something small that is good for the little hands. And I don't want to see them get rid of the
I love it.
Yeah. I don't want it to be some high-end, expensive. Okay, so he's talking about which models.
Well, how many people do, because there is a real mix, people who use the iPad as the device to bridge them between phone and full-on MacBook. And then there are the people that babysitter iPad, not implying that you're babysitting with your kids with an iPad, Bridget.
No,
but
I am.
A lot of people.
I am. Oh, that's true.
Lean into it. But, a lot of people that do use the iPad as a kind of a second device or something for the kids or something for the car. I wonder whether we'll see upgrades. There's the iPad Pro, whether we'll see some price changes or slight bumps for the just kind of vanilla iPad that make it really, really kind of accessible or still a good winner, because that's their kind of big seller, and it's a reasonably affordable iPad. So maybe we'll see some changes there.
Yeah, so this is the new iPad, so not the Air, not the Mini. It's just the regular iPad with a new A13 Bionic chip. And
there we go.
Yeah, this is about time that we see an update. I actually wasn't expecting iPads today. We had a lot of the rumors and speculation pointing to the fact that there might be 2 Apple events. So one now for the iPhone and Apple Watch, and then potentially one in October with iPads and MacBooks. But it looks like we are getting the new iPad. And Bridget, it's got a Touch ID sensor in a button. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're happy about that one.
Well, when it's an educational tool, you don't want to have to deal with Face ID to unlock for everything. I mean, I know they have the side button for Touch ID on some models of an iPad, but I just, you want to keep things simple.
Yeah, I like that we're seeing some of the things
on the iPad.
Sorry, Lexi. I was just going to say, I love that we're seeing some of the things that we saw at DubDub, of course, some of the changes that were coming to iPadOS. iOS 15 is obviously coming today. So it's kind of nice to see, I guess, it's the ship that was coming over the horizon back in June, and now the ship is in port. Gosh, I don't know where I get these horribly, bungled
the
metaphors
shipping
from.
Analogies. I think it's fantastic.
Center stage is coming to the center stage is coming to this one. So that was on the iPad Pro before, where you prop up your iPad and the camera kind of follows you as you're in the woods, as you would take an iPad, or if you're in the kitchen or doing something around the house when you're talking to the grandparents.
It's absolutely going to be in the kitchen while you're cooking
woods.
dinner. Yeah, in the woods. Who's taking their iPad to the woods?
Well, Apple Keynote videographers did, so there you go. And now it works in a couple of different apps. So Blue Jeans, TikTok, Double Take, which is good. It's good to see the compatibility being brought to a couple of different apps, and that's nice to see. Okay, I've lost
TikTok will be a big one.
Here we go.
I could see a lot of people suddenly doing their center stage TikToks. That's going to be, a few people use that service, I think. I've heard just a couple of people are on it. It's starting to,
It's a little popular with the kids.
Yeah, it's a little...
I love TikTok, full disclosure. I love TikTok.
Yeah, oh man.
Interesting though, I haven't used TikTok on an iPad. I'm wondering what the app experience is like, because a lot of apps aren't optimized for, Instagram is one that people have a lot of issues with on iPad, but TikTok I've never used on iPad, so it'll be interesting to see how that one's going to work. All right,
well,
iPadOS,
also,
so we obviously saw this.
They were talking about the camera features. The only people I know who take, I don't want to be ageist or anything, but the people that are holding up their iPad at the family dinner, like grandpa's holding up the iPad, and you're like, this is not the best way to take a photo, team. So it's funny that they're, those little features. TikTok on iPad, it's like, is anyone using TikTok on iPad, or is everyone just using it on their phone? But,
It's so the student who's supposed to be doing their homework can quickly switch to TikTok. They'll have it propped up on their desk. And
Bridget's got kids. She sees the future. I see that in your future one day, Bridget. Okay, so is that $329?
$300.
That
Available
sounds like the same base price as the original. At least there was an iPad that was designed for education that was released in around 2018, and that one I think came in at $329, or the $299 education price. And so the 64 gigabytes of storage is a good one, because if you think about how many productivity tools are being used on things like iPad, if you're thinking about storing, this one's obviously targeted more towards people working from home, kids at home, storing apps, storing photos, videos, big files, and so on. This one, I think, is interesting to be bumping the storage up, and hopefully gives us a bit of a hint about what's to come in the iPhone. But guess what, Bridget? I'm sorry to break it to you. There's a new iPad mini.
Let's see. I'm going to give him a chance.
Sorry.
I just don't want it to be too complicated.
Just
because it is kind of nutty when you're spending so much money on these things for like a child. You can't always give them your oldest hand-me-downs. Oh, a little video.
All right, a little video with a nice sketch of iPad mini with some upbeat music. So it's kind of interesting. We're watching this, talking to you, and watching with captions on, and so I'm literally saying, "Oh, upbeat music. I wonder what that sounds like." Doing a little boogie, and I can't hear it. I'm just watching the caption.
I don't see a home button.
Uh-oh.
No.
Well, what if the fingerprint, the Touch ID
design.
scanner is in the power button?
Looks like that might be your future, Bridget. It's the focus on an all-screen design makes me think you may have lost out on the iPad mini.
Maybe you don't need it, but I kind of liked it. I don't actually even. If it's a home device, I don't even put I don't lock it like that for my kids. But okay, let's see. It's going to be 8.3 inches, so you get a little more.
And
I'm still going to put a giant rubber cover around it.
Yes, exactly. I wonder if the
it does look very
pink
slabular
starlight color is iPhone kind of hints.
Oh, Touch ID!
Is that the color palette?
There you go. It's there.
Bridget's excited.
It's on the button. You know why I'm excited? Because that's what they should do with the iPhone. I'm just saying, why don't you have the technology? Just do it. Just put it on that.
I agree. That's why I introduced you as Touch ID Forever. That's why. Because
I know people. I use the Face ID, but I know people who are like, I am not getting an iPhone unless it has another option. So why not give the option? You invented the option. Just put it in there. Sorry,
80% faster GPU, 40% faster CPU performance. I do like that slabular design, as Patrick was talking about, that's come across the devices. That more less rounded, square, obviously beveled corners, but kind of squared off on the edges, which, there's talk that we'll see that in the Apple Watch. So if that comes out to iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, touches edge of MacBook to see what the feel on this is. Pretty slabular. So I like that those design touch points kind of coming through. It's interesting though, you look over the kind of generations of iPhone and iPad, and the differences, the bezel might stay the same, the OS looks, similar enough, but it's just those like slight design cues that feel very of their time. Remember the older iPhones that kind of a little more bubbly? They reminded me a bit of the old Macs, the 90s, right around the time those VWs came out, the colorful Macs from the 90s. Was it the 90s? The noughties? Gosh, time is meaningless. I really feel like I've aged a million years over 2020, so don't have any sense of time anymore.
USB-C. USB-C.
Yes, so we've got USB-C, and I was interested because there was a talk about speed. So I was wondering, is it going to be a 5G iPad mini? I don't know. Maybe that was just
No,
about USB-C.
this is a tool for doctors, a
all in
tool for
line.
when you're a photographer on the go. When you want something that's got a little more substance, and you don't want to have your phone everything, this could be that like portable computer.
5G on the iPad mini. There we go. There we go. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. There was the talk about speed. It had to happen. So here's the thing about 5G, right? This was the big draw card for the iPhone event last year. It was, high speed was the tagline. So we got iPhones with 5G. And depending on where you live around the country, in the US at least, 5G rollout is very, who knows? It's very difficult to determine kind of the actual speed that you're going to be getting. And I feel like the promise of 5G has not been fulfilled yet. I know, Claire, we've been talking about 5G forever, it feels like. And I've been disappointed with 5G performance, on a number of different carriers. I've had the iPhone 12 Pro on. I've just been like, I've just switched back to LTE half the time. It's more reliable. And that's, to
Absolutely.
me, as a consumer, upsetting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I guess I came over to the States last year, but even in Australia's 5G rollout has been quite advanced as well, and going to so many events, hearing about the benefits of 5G, and then the rollout has just been, obviously 5G is kind of shorter range, so you need more towers. It's only in select areas starting out. But unlike you, I switched to LTE because I switched to 4G because like the battery drain that I had, I mean, this is the Samsung was my first 5G phone, and I was just like, it was just completely zoinking out my battery and going like, what is happening? So I don't know whether that was an anecdotal thing, but I just found that the patchiness, it wasn't quite there for me. Then again, when you do kind of get on 5G wireless, there's been a couple of times when my wired internet at home would just junk out, and so I needed to upload video that I just shot. One of our editors is like, Claire, where's the video? So I've got it on my phone, and then I upload it over 5G, and I tell you what, that experience is it's pretty good. Like when you try it for the first time and you just go, oh yeah, that's the speed that I was told about. But it's this amazing thing that you occasionally tap into, and it can occasionally like blast you forward light years with speed, but then you get the patchiness in between. You get it's not available in this town, in this, we're in metro areas, so we forget that a lot of places in the States are really struggling to get good 4G speeds. So it's very much a kind of an internet divided world in the States and the rest of the world right now.
Yeah, I think it's totally right. It's the inconsistency of experience that's really difficult. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially people buying an iPad mini, are probably not going to care about it having 5G. It's nice that it does. It's probably going to bump up the cost. But I think for a lot of people, are they buying an iPad or at least a mini to be using on the road? I don't know. So talking about colors.
Yeah, because I'd rather just hotspot my phone.
Right, exactly. And so we've seen there's a front 12 megapixel camera, smart HDR in the back camera. There was a new speaker system. It's Apple Pencil compatible, and as we mentioned, USB-C. And so now we have upbeat rock music playing as a bunch of people move the iPad mini in a number of different configurations and use center stage to talk to each other at a plane show in a laundromat. This is it's very confusing watching this without audio. I feel like it's a lot of the emphasis, a lot of the gravitas is lost by watching it without the audio. But
come on, Lexi, it's go. It's in your giant side, jean jacket pocket. Yeah, we can go anywhere for $4.99.
For $4.99, orders available. Orders open today, $4.99, available next week. So 40% faster CPU, 80% faster GPU. It's got 5G, it's got Touch ID on the button, USB-C, love to see it, all-day battery life, and it looks like it comes with the power adapter, and as we said, it's Apple Pencil compatible. So, I mean, iPad mini is still one of my favorite devices. I've never really loved the big iPad because for me, the iPad, I mean, I'm literally watching the keynote on my iPad mini right now. So it's, I'm a huge iPad mini fan. It's just the right thing. I don't want a huge galumphing big iPad. If I have my MacBook, which is also a pretty easy thing to pull out, it's got a keyboard. I'm not one of those people that wants to like have the like little folio cover with the keyboard in it that you kind of flopping down on your lap all the time. It's you know, it's not the way I want to work. So it's like phone, big Mac, big MacBook, and then the iPad in between.
Quarter pounder.
It's my little entertainment box. So entertainment box, gosh, I feel like people in the 60s are just looking at me being like, Claire, you have the power of the world within your hands and you call it an entertainment box. What are you doing?
An entertainment
Okay, now we're into
box.
Apple Watch.
Yes,
Is that right?
right.
Yes.
Looking forward to seeing, yes, it's Apple Watch time. Looking forward to seeing what we're going to see today, if there's going to be a surprise sensor on board. I kind of hope there is, because a lot of people were just, I mean, the rumors are like, no new sensors. I'm going, come on, blood pressure. Come on, let's do it. No one has been able to do it successfully so far.
I mean, if you invested in a lot of different wristbands, you're going to be annoyed. You're like, oh, all my accessories.
Yes.
Not to get new ones with new sizes.
Right. If it turns out that they're not backwards compatible, yeah, that's a big investment. You're going to have to spend at least $50 to get Apple first party straps, at least. Or I think what's the least expensive one? I think it's probably $39 or $49. Don't quote me on that, but it's something around that. So, or you can obviously get third party options, but still, it's an added
fall
expense.
detection to
upgrading.
cycling.
Oh,
So like the
fall
falling
detection to cycle. That's new.
detection. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But wait
and
a
that's
second.
actually really useful.
Are you telling me fall detection didn't work before? Like, I mean, you're still having a big fall if you crash. Maybe I don't understand the nuances of the fall detection algorithm.
Yeah. So I think with fall detection, it is calculating things like velocity and movement based on, I think, a standing position from what I remember. And there's a lot of companies have not been able to do auto detect workouts on cycling because of the different nature of how there's movement needs to be tracked. And so there are surprisingly a lot more nuances in tracking biking than you might think. And that's good.
I'm going to guess
watchOS 8
these
having,
boulders.
that yet.
I was going to say.
Yeah, that's a good way.
I'm going to guess this has to do with okay, never mind. Yep. Okay. Fall detection.
Durability.
I felt like it.
But also,
Yeah.
wait, okay, so I'm
All right,
interested to
Series
see.
7.
Not the flat edge design that we thought we might get. It's looking still pretty rounded.
Oh, wow. Those leaks were completely wrong. Completely wrong.
I don't typically
You love to see
see
it,
that
don't you?
happen. Oh.
No, that was a red. Oh, that's very interesting. I wonder who put the red herring out there to send that information to all the leakers who were like, definitely going to look square. Definitely. Oh my
Well, it's
gosh.
interesting they're saying it's 40% thinner borders. The shape of the watch has been refined. They have softer, more rounded corners. That seems like a deliberate slight to the people that, we're trying to talk about the squared off edge. I suppose if you think about the squared off edge, though, that's going to be more likely to catch. It's going to be more likely to wear away because it's a sharper edge to kind of, meet rocks, boulder. I don't know what I'm saying, but it's a sharper edge. So I think a smoother edge is something that makes sense on your wrist to have something a little bit more streamlined and comfortable. Yeah, there we go. There's a shot of the fall detection and the durability. I love to see how tough they're making it look.
Love that. Okay. And it's so talking about the new display, 70% brighter, and the buttons have been enlarged, which is, it's good, I think, especially for people that have, the Apple's done a lot about accessibility with people who have limited use of limbs, for example. There's this thing called Assistive Touch. Now the buttons are physically going to get bigger on the interface itself. And I think they're going to talk a little bit about some of the features that we've seen on watchOS 8 already. So we kind of knew about this. Being able to send emoji, swipe on the keyboard, or dictate from the same interface. So that's not new, but there are some new watch faces, which is always exciting to me. I always like to see what they come up with in terms of watch faces, but we're never going to see third-party watch faces, I don't think. I wish we would, but we're not going to. That's a weird watch face with the numbers kind of like getting bigger around the edge. I don't like that one. I'm going to have to say, I don't like that.
It's not useful.
Not to my liking. No.
Lexi,
but
when
it doesn't
did
even look nice.
Yeah. When we did WWDC in June, was that when we saw the watch face that kind of you could put portrait mode photos in front and behind of the time, so it kind of your photo would wrap around? Was that then? Do I sound like a crazy person? You remember what I'm trying to explain?
No, that was exactly it. IP6X, which means it's really dust resistant. But yes, you're right. So that basically in watchOS 8, you have the ability to use portrait mode photos taken on the iPhone, sync them to the watch, and then you can move the digital crown and make your subject pop in and out. It's kind of like almost a 3D effect in a way. It gives your photos a little bit more dimension. Yes. So that's not new, but that's coming to all Apple Watches.
Well, that's good.
Onwards. Yeah.
So, all right, 8 minutes of charging
charging
is enough for 8 hours of sleep tracking, and it can go. I missed that number back there, but eight minutes of charging for 8 hours of sleep tracking. That's good. So you could kind of just recharge it while you're brushing your teeth at night. No one brushes their teeth for 8 minutes unless you're really good at dental hygiene. No. But okay, and 5 colors there. Silver,
midnight,
graphite, and gold,
starlight,
steel,
green, blue, and red. Silver, graphite, and gold.
It makes me think that we're not going to get the Hermes bands. Always good to see. It does make me think we're not going to get blood glucose monitoring, because I feel like they would have really led with that rather than slightly faster charging, slightly reshaped watch face. These feel like iterative changes.
More durable
So durability,
front screen, because as I look at all the scratches I have, I'm like, okay, sure, but yeah.
The Series 6 has been very durable, I have to say. I haven't fallen off my bike with it, knock on wood, I won't, but I'm just saying, I've used it, in a lot of situations. I'm very clumsy. I drop it a lot. I brush it against things all the time. I don't generally take it and rub it in sand on the beach, but it's been pretty good. There's been no really visible damage to it. But I can imagine, yes, if you fall off your bike and land on the watch, it could crack. Now with the 7, it might not. Okay, later this fall. The delays. It looks like those rumored delays actually have happened. So we've seen it announced, but we have not seen an actual release date.
Yeah, $399 later this fall. I think, I was just going to jump in and say the exact same thing. Like, it's not coming out. Pre-orders don't start today, Apple Watch, for something that I don't know, these changes aren't really, maybe I set my sights too high with the new sensors and new monitors, but these are kind of smaller changes, iterative updates, and not coming till this fall. So I wonder whether Apple's made a decision to prioritize chips for certain hardware lines, but we talk about that global chip shortage. I wonder if that's kind of hitting the Apple Watch here, that it's just not going to be as available, and maybe they're hitching their wagon to other devices instead.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting for people that don't actually have an Apple Watch. Maybe this is, you'd be interested in it. For people who have already got a Series 6 or even a Series 5, there really doesn't seem to be enough to make you want to upgrade. The battery life, we didn't get a number. We got faster charging, but we didn't actually see if the battery performance had improved, or at least I didn't see it in these notes on the keynote. watchOS 8 will make your older Apple Watch feel new, gives you many of the same features. Yeah, you won't get the crack resistance and the physical hardware configurations, for example. But yeah, this is actually interesting. I really didn't think that we were going to get so little. I was expecting at least a redesign. I think that would have brought it in line with at least the iPhone look. It doesn't, I mean, I'm a little sad because I wanted something a little extra.
Go, Bridget.
I was going to say, I'm with you, Claire. I'm actually, I don't think a redesign would have been a better experience other than just different for different sake, because it would, you do like, I like the rounded edges, especially when you're like dealing with like your sleeves and stuff, you know, do you really want something that can have more surface to have more accidents. So what was interesting though, they were really targeting heavily on this commercial about like, hey, I'm playing tennis and it's detecting like my game, or I'm doing surfing, it's detecting that activity. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. We saw some sort of larger, brighter display, you know, faster charging, those kind of smaller updates. But I think, okay, this wasn't the throw my phone in the ocean and go buy a phone and watch combo tomorrow. Still may do that later this fall, but yeah, I think not throwing my phone in the ocean just yet. We're now moving on to Apple Fitness Plus. Obviously, that's a tie-in to the Apple Watch. Oh, Reba McEntire doing content. Yes, I would work out with Reba McEntire. She's the greatest of all time.
Have any of you tried Fitness Plus? I'm interested to see. I've tried it, but
I'm not a that kind of, well, one, I don't have the Apple Watch, but I'm not a huge kind of like in the Peloton scene, in that kind of vibe. I go down and do like Richard Simmons style 80s aerobics in the park with my friends of an evening. So yeah, I think this is good. This is definitely such a game changer during the pandemic. So many people exercising at home, and gyms are, you know, still, don't actually know. I've not been comfortable setting foot back inside a gym, to be honest. I think it's a huffy and puffy environment. I also like exercising outdoors, and pretty lucky to be able to in San Francisco. But, you know, we are heading into winter, so a lot of people are going to be maybe potentially not quite ready to get back into gyms, or wanting the convenience. They've exercised at home. They've done the whole thing. They've seen the rise of products like Mirror and Peloton, all those sorts of devices. So, yeah, I think there's going to be, I wonder, maybe I've called it, I wonder if there's going to be a sort of an increase in indoor at-home exercise as we head into the winter months, and people want to do things like yoga, aerobics, that kind of stuff at home on their own schedule.
well, they are talking about adding a couple of different workout types to Fitness Plus, so Pilates and guided meditation. Now, the next one better be 80s synth workouts with leotards, otherwise Claire is not signing up. Like,
I have bought
100%.
so many leotards. I have to be able to amortize that cost over multiple workouts. Otherwise, I'm just wasting money at this stage. So, yes, I would love that. If they brought that, I'd be very interested. Although mindfulness and yoga, everyone kind of gave Apple a bit of stick for when they first released that breathe interface on the watch. And everyone's kind of like, oh, you need your watch to remind you to breathe. It's like, actually, no, modern people are morons, and we don't stop for more than 2 seconds. So we kind of do need these wrist-based reminders to just check in. So yeah, mindfulness and meditation, I'm a big fan of that coming to the watch. That's a great thing, because we already use it. I already use that a lot on my phone. I use apps on my phone and playlists for meditation. So definitely a fan of that.
This is great, watching people prepare to go to the snow by training in Apple Fitness Plus. It's just, I have no words. It's just hilarious watching people jumping around like pretending they're doing a slalom or something.
But this is California, remember, Lexi. Everyone's got to get ready for their Tahoe pregame over the winter months. So get ready in Silicon Valley and then take it to the slopes.
Oh, group workouts. Okay, this is the game changer now. Sorry, Bridget, you go.
Yeah, because I want gamification, and I want something that kind of links it up with other people. I can kind of like, I mean, I know we're all shouldn't compete with each other, but I kind of need a little bit of more than just watching something that was pre-taped.
Okay, yeah, so we've got the wrap up now.
Being able to
Sorry, you go, Lexi.
Yeah, thanks. Being able to compete with people to complete your burn bar or close your rings, I guess, adds that other element. So you've always been able to compete with friends on the Apple Watch. You can add them and see how they're progressing throughout their day, and you kind of have this little thing, oh, you know, Sam closed his rings at like 9 a.m. I'm way behind. And so that could kind of gamify it, but this is taking it to the next level, I guess, in many ways. So you can actually compete with someone in the same class, technically. Kind of like the Peloton competitor.
Yeah,
way.
that's becoming the thing. So we got the little roundup. We got the 5 to 45-minute workouts, new filters, snow prep, meditation, Pilates, snow prep, all important snow prep. You will get 3 months free Apple Fitness Plus with the purchase of an Apple Watch, and all new subscriptions get 1 month free. So yeah, that's the kind of, and we're just getting a bit of a summary of everything: HIIT, dance, breathe naturally, yoga, Pilates, meditation. Oh, who's meditating on the top of a cliff? Like, that's peak.
Namaste.
Yeah. It's normally like, okay, meditating in a quiet room for 5 minutes before someone busts in and like asks me where their socks are, or, you know, Bridget, I feel like that's probably a reality of your life right now with kids running around. I don't know how much time you have to meditate
Claire,
on the
did you
top
see
of a beautiful wall.
Dolly Parton walk Time to Walk? Did you see that?
I
Claire,
didn't.
this
Oh
is
my
very-
gosh. I saw the
this is
Camila
Claire
Cabello.
alert. Dolly
is
Parton,
crazy.
Time to Walk. That's almost reason for you to throw your phone in the ocean and get an iPhone.
That's
right?
pretty close. You're right. With Reba McEntire in Apple Fitness Plus and a Dolly Parton Time to Walk, and get ready for snow season with gold medalist Ted Ligety, and Anya Garcia. Gosh, I have been thinking about how to prep for snow season, and the first one was learn how to ski, find somewhere that has snow. Start to like skiing. I'm all about après. I don't have any time for snow sports. It's all about the après for me.
All about the fondue in their chalet
absolutely.
afterwards. That's
Yeah.
my idea of skiing. Oh, love it.
Okay, so
Love it.
no blood glucose monitor on the Apple Watch. I know you told me, Lexi, that I was going to be waiting and hoping in vain there, but I still kind of thought maybe I'd get blown out of the water and surprised. Apple Watch 8 it is then, next year.
Yep, we'll be waiting. So, okay, so I think for people first timers to the Apple Watch, it has a lot to offer. For people upgrading from a Series 5 or a Series 6, maybe not so much, but you know, Series 4 definitely. But the thing is, the Apple Watch SE will still be in the lineup, which is good to know, which is the cheaper Apple Watch. Okay, iPhone time, everybody. Let's talk iPhone.
Oh, it's happening.
I'm ready to
it's
go.
real. It's here. 17 iPhones
love
released.
these
What are
photos.
we betting?
17. What do we think it's going to be
I
called?
love
Do we
all-
think they're going to be 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, or 12S, or XIII.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. 10 plus 3.
Okay, water resistance, yes. Great battery life, yes. Most advanced cameras, privacy. All right, just give us the name.
Give us the phone. Next generation of iPhone.
Next generation.
iPhone. Imagine if it's just called iPhone.
I love the captions on the event. It just says bass music thumping, and I'm like, oh, I do feel that anticipation actually. All right, calling it 12S or
There it is.
13. Oh, okay.
Bouncing circles,
Bouncing circles.
We're getting
Everyone
it
loves a
pink,
bouncing.
I bet. No?
pink. I think pink is a good, because all the iPads were pink. I mean, they
We're
had
seeing
pink
a lot of
options, so-
diagonal lines because the cameras are kind of in a diagonal array. iPhone 13, there it is. So yes,
There
graphics.
we
Those are very cool
go.
graphics.
iPhone
It's an S
13.
year, but no S.
Exactly right.
I wonder whether they're steering away from S branding because of the sort of, I don't know, they want to, iPhone, so much of it has always been about like prestige and cool factor. And if you're like, I've got the S, it's kind of like, is it less than? Is it less cool? Okay, so big empty theater.
You close your mouth there, because S is always the best one. Everyone always
Yeah.
gives S a hard time. S is always the one. Has like all the fixes and has. I just always used to buy on S year.
Okay, all right, yeah. Well, S Club 7
All
is a superior band, of course.
All right, the ceramic shield is so Apple's been working with Corning to create this very specific glass that is on the iPhone. It's not necessarily Gorilla Glass Victus, which is the latest Gorilla Glass. It's the custom one for Apple. So they're showing it's saying it's very strong. I
No.
want to know how strong. No, pink. There we go. Pink, blue, midnight, starlight. I don't like these colors.
That's not so pink. You go pink, you go pink.
Yeah, it's a very pastel-y pink.
It's like that not quite pink. You know, do you remember the Pixel was announced with that not quite pink color? It was literally called not quite pink, I think. And it really wasn't pink much at all. So it reminds me of this. I would, missed opportunity. Imagine a hot pink iPhone. That would sell so well.
That's why I wore my shirt today. I was trying to send out the good energy to the universe.
A rose gold would have been nice, like the earbuds. Oh, I'm not even wearing them. Like the Samsung earbuds, that kind of rose gold is a very nice color. Point to the Apple headphones that I'm wearing. So yeah, red, black, navy, a kind of soft mint green, and then a pink. 28% brighter display for HDR content like photos and videos. Peak brightness of 1200 nits.
Brighter display.
I think. All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have to get over this color thing. I'm a little caught up on the colors right now, so feeling a little disappointed there. But
yeah, the mint's good.
Okay.
Bluey. It's not really mint, it's like bluey.
So we'll get a 5.4 inch and a 6.1 inch model in the iPhone 13. That was a lot about the display and I guess the visuals. And now we're going to talk about performance behind the iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 mini. Ooh. It's very weird that they're in this huge empty theater.
Right. It is a little odd considering that all of the other scenes at least have had parts of it cut to like an outside situation somewhere. I did notice though, like, I wonder how Apple got around sticky beaks, people looking in on a shoot when they were doing, there was a scene outside I think it was the Ferry Building or somewhere along the Embarcadero in San Francisco. Yeah, it was interesting to see how they didn't get people looking in and spying. No, because Apple can do that. All right, A15 Bionic.
All right, so I love that they're 6-core IPU, CPU. I love that their discussion of performance is always in this really kind of intense-looking lab space. That's where we saw the man, the hair, the legend, Craig Federighi, talking about performance on the Macs during the last Mac event. I've kind of liked seeing all the different places around the Apple campus that they go for these events and kind of pan us between things. So, okay, A15 Bionic processor, 4-core GPU for more eye-catching visuals and lighting effects. So we're seeing a bit of a gaming demonstration there. 30% faster graphics. And they're pushing the limits of machine learning with a 16-core neural engine. A 16-core neural engine. I remember the first phone I got, we just had 12 buttons. I was so excited. 3 color-changing screens. I'm a million years old, Bridget. Oh, I didn't even realize that happened so quickly. And here I am, just ossifying and turning to dust in front of your very eyes. But back to the processing power. Faster machine learning. Okay, all right, so that makes sense. Live text with iOS 15. I was like, what are you doing machine learning for? But I suppose so many of these little applications are just things that we come to expect from our phones, right? Like, I'm not programming a neural network through my phone, but I also forget that so much of what we do on our devices requires that kind of level of processing, It's not necessarily just a smartphone's a smart, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh man, my husband's a hiker. He would love that mountain thing where you just point your camera and it can tell you, like, it overlays the map on where you are. That's nuts.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I don't think of that as being, that's just something that we kind of want at our fingertips. We want those kind of capabilities, or we love the feeling of AR camera modes that you kind of hold up your camera and it's sort of overlaying information. I mean, that's the kind of the future, right? But none of that is possible without the kind of processing power and the machine learning. And so that's what they're really spruiking with the A15 Bionic. And now to talk of cameras.
Yes, my favorite part. I can't wait.
Ooh. You're sounding a little like a robot there, Lexi. We've got a whole situation. I love it. You've got like a fun effect on your voice. That's all. Okay, so let's talk about. Yeah, let's just give you a sec to like fix that. But yeah, okay. So Bridget, talk to me. Diagonal cameras. You're now, I think, one of the most important things when you have like the new latest iPhone. I mean, maybe I'm talking the 12S person here, or the S fan, the S Club, Bridget. But the way that they kind of make these little changes so that people will know that you have the iPhone 13. It's like, no. This is not an iPhone 12 that has the vertical lenses. These are diagonally arranged so you know it's the iPhone 13. Is the camera a big one for you, Bridget? Is that like a big selling point?
Yeah. What good is an iPhone if I can't show off the latest one, right? How many dots do I have? That's how you know my status. No, camera's everything to everyone. This is the core, because it's what you can take away from why you're upgrading, why you're paying more. Sure, you can always talk about everything smoother, but a lot of folks still hang on to their older phones going, well, my experience is fine, right? Because they haven't lived the enlightened life of what it's like when things are faster. So you want to be able to show off these better phones in terms of the cameras and what you can do in Snap and get those adorable little doggy in the park pictures, right?
Oh, yes, that's so important in my life. Okay, so the dual camera system, Apple is saying it's the biggest sensor in a dual camera system so far, letting 47% more light. It's got better low light features, faster capture and night mode improvements, which is really those are the touch points that you always want on your phone, right? It's like when someone's moving too fast, when you're out for cocktails in the evening and the light's going, and shooting photos at night. It shouldn't just be beautiful pictures with you and your dog in the park. And now we're onto video modes, and it's got a new feature called cinematic mode. So we've got Johnny Manzari, who's one of the Apple designers. Oh, once again, my caption saying mysterious music.
Mysterious music.
Lexi, you're back. You sound beautiful.
Am I back? Do I sound better? Yay. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, well, it was a bad cable. There we go. Glad to be back. So cinematic video is that thing that we were talking about earlier in the pre-show, all about being able to have that blurred background effect and doing things so it looks more quote-unquote cinematic. It's like portrait mode video, essentially. Is that actually what we're
that's their name for it?
I like this
Just
kind of
quietly.
pull focus. Imagine, could you pull focus on an iPhone? That's cool. Sorry, Claire, you go.
I was just going to say that I love this kind of Knives Out parody that they're doing, which is amazing. It's called Who Done It? They've created this little, and I think were they saying that this was shot on iPhone? I might have, yes, okay, so this Who Done It short that we're seeing, if you've got the Apple Livestream up right now, it was shot in cinematic mode on the iPhone, and it's just like pulling focus, moving in, moving out. My goodness. See, like, this is why my short movies don't work, because, well, like, lack of artistic talent, key point there. But, yeah, this is pretty amazing. They're kind of showing, capturing the subject even when they're moving. Focus transitions happen automatically and in real time. Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't want to call it too early, but this is exciting me, guys. Maybe I might want to switch. Maybe I might want to switch.
This is exciting. Yeah, so it's not actually what we were anticipating in terms of having portrait mode video. It is basically pulling focus between objects that are entering the frame, which is really nice because it means that you don't need to have a focus puller, or you don't need to be able to actually touch the screen to set focus when you are recording a video, which is nice.
That's
I
huge.
also want portrait mode video.
And
I want
guys,
both.
we are
I'm greedy.
we are still on the main iPhone 13. Normally, the high-end camera, talk is always you have to pay more for it. So that's cool because I feel like folks who don't go for the Pro feel like they're not getting the best camera, and they're cinematic mode is so far sounds like a really sweet feature.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because all of those, higher end features like ProRAW. I just
ProRes.
blanked on the name of the
ProRAW?
ProRes. Thank you. Yeah, so that was reserved for the Pro models, but it looks like some features are being trickled down. I mean, so if that's on the regular 12 and 12 mini, what extra things are we getting on the Pro? Portrait mode video. I'm gonna go and die on this hill, I swear.
I didn't even think of that. I was thinking we're at Pro features. You're right. This is just the Rego, which is great because another thing, and
Rego.
Patrick's, Rego.
Sorry, I love it.
Regular.
It's Australian.
You speak my language, Lexi. You know what I'm talking about. Bridget's here just being like, sorry, guys, what is all this slang you're dropping? But normally the smaller phones are not as crash hot. Another Australian term, didn't realise was Australian. But Patrick was saying he loves the iPhone mini. That's his favourite. And, he's reviewed 417 phones or something this year, and he loves the iPhone mini because it's just a good size, a lot of the good features. And if we're seeing some of those shooting modes come to the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 mini, that is huge because I can't hold this giant phone. It's not comfortable. If you have small hands, I don't know what it's like for someone with larger hands to use a phone and not feel like they've just gone through some sort of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids moment. But I really love seeing nice features on smaller devices. Battery life. This one's for you, Lexi.
Come on, battery life. Let's do it because I want to get more than 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. out of my iPhone 12 Pro. That would be nice. Brighter display, dual camera system, and better battery life. I'm waiting with bated breath. Are we getting it?
Oh, this is good. We've got, you can keep, in the bottom right of our screen there, you can see all of the features on the new cameras in the iPhone 13. So thank you for our lovely gents behind the scenes pulling all these pictures for us because Apple won't let us restream their show.
Exactly.
Delightful.
So if you've just joined us and you're wondering what the heck is going on, that's what's going on. We are talking through the Apple keynote because we are not allowed to restream it. And we are talking about better battery life and doing a sing-song because it's an hour in. We're getting a little delirious.
Yes. Getting a little batty. I liked that. We saw just a moment there saying it will switch from 5G to LTE when you don't need high data speeds, which helps conserve the battery life. So I guess it's that kind of intelligence within the system, the smart switching, and that was something we talked about with the potential of the LTPO screen to track between refresh rates. If we see a boosted refresh rate, that maybe a smarter screen will adapt so it knows not to be chewing through the battery when you don't need it. And now we're talking privacy, which, another reason.
Dig on Gmail.
Yes. The battery numbers, though, are interesting because Apple doesn't ever disclose the capacity of the battery. I know, Claire, you were talking about the milliampere hour ratings, but Apple doesn't officially disclose that. It's always about the actual use time and runtime. So the Mini will get you 1.5 hours more than last year's, or the Mini 12 Mini, and the 13 will get you 2.5 hours more than the iPhone 12. There you go. So a little bit more.
Okay.
Is it enough? We'll see. Okay.
New MagSafe leather wallet. Oh, that supports the Find My feature. We had a big buzz around Find My when the AirTags came out. Obviously, that was a big one. All right.
If the wallet is separated, it's its own little AirTag, yeah.
That's nifty. So,
I mean, that's good because if you're spending that much on a MagSafe case, you don't want to lose it.
all right.
Longer battery life, 5G.
$699 for the iPhone 13 mini and $799 for the iPhone 13. That's the prices we're looking at. So, all right.
But what's that memory start at?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Increasing
128.
starting capacity.
Nice. Okay, so that was the rumors were true. The starting capacity is no longer 64. Thank goodness. 128. But is iCloud storage getting any cheaper? Probably not. Again, wishful thinking.
Gosh, I didn't even think of that. I use Google storage. Oh gosh, changing my life over is going to be so hard, you guys. But I really want to shoot
You
my
can
own
still
little
back up on
Poirot
Google
style.
Photos.
Okay, good.
You can still back
You'll
up
tell
on
me
Google
how to
Photos.
switch my
Yeah.
entire life over.
Yeah, I'll help you. I'll help you.
One of my colleagues, when I was saying yesterday, I was like, oh, I might switch over to iPhone. I don't know what I'll do. And then he was like, well, remember that we have the entire CNET How to Do It All channel, and we've got a video on how to switch from Android to iPhone and another video on how to switch from iPhone to Android. So here's a little plug, CNET How to Do It All on YouTube. We have loads of videos, very simple, very easy to follow, very fun. I always think those photos are very fun. Chris Parker, Stephen Beecham, doing a lot of great stuff there. Thanks, team. Shouting out my colleagues while we get this random video
I love
of
it.
a motorcycle.
I love. Yeah, what is this, like, kind of like Born Identity style on a little scooter? Because he kind of looks like. And there was no going downstairs though, but it's a lot of package deliveries. Interesting. All shot on. Is the kicker? I always say this every year, but is the kicker that the entire keynote has been filmed on the iPhone 13 Pro Max? Is that what they're going to reveal at the end?
Oh,
I always wish that they would do that, and I don't think they do.
should.
But it's, Samsung did that one year. They were like, this whole thing is being filmed on I think it was the 20 Ultra actually. I think that was the event that they filmed all on the phone.
okay. So we
Stream.
just saw the iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 mini then, correct? We just saw two phones. We're going back to Tim.
Yes.
And Tim is sometimes who we go to when we're wrapping up, unless he's, I'm not sure here.
Tim's going to throw
Yeah,
to
we got more, baby.
the next one.
We're not done
We're
yet.
not done yet. Okay,
Jesus.
Pro. All right.
One more thing. It's not
was
one
a
more
little-
thing. We're expecting the other two phones.
Okay, I was a little
Pro
worried
lineup.
there because I was like, guys, I only saw two. Did you only see two? I'm not sure what's happening, but
You're like, did we miss
Okay.
the announcements?
it happened
Did we
again.
sleep through it? Okay.
Our most pro iPhone ever. What glossy video are we going to get to promote this one?
Much
Shot on the
iPhone, such pro.
Come on.
Such pro mini
Wow.
phone. All right, but with all these new lenses and cameras and, better camera capability, there was talk of a bigger camera bump. So I'm going to be looking to see whether there's some sort of chongus hanging off the back of the phone.
That really was the
Oh,
most
it looks like a
disappointing thing to me when I upgraded.
Yeah?
I really, I don't really care if my phone's a little thicker. If you just made the camera bump be aligned with everything, I don't know. It just kind of irks me. Like I'm going to break it or something, even though I got a case on it. I'm like, why you got to stick out like that?
Well, it could be something like, well, I've been using the Note 20 Ultra for a lot of last year, and that camera bump, let me tell you, that one's a domino chonker. That's really annoying. Great phone though, just terrible camera bump. I do
All right, so we
like
got
how
the-
they,
Jaws.
like
Jaws
the
instead of
iPhone
was?
camera is, yes, the iPhone camera was like the spaceship canvas. Nicely done. I'm surprised I haven't done that
Nice.
before. I like that. I always like how they say surgical grade stainless steel. Like, who's using the iPhone to perform surgery? Number one. Number two, does it really matter? Like, can we just say stainless steel? Do we care that much? I don't. Is it maybe any of the metallurgists out there? Please tell me, like, if I'm legitimately missing something between stainless steel and medical or a surgical grade stainless steel. I'm gonna look that up after this, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like those
there's
colors.
that.
I saw
There's
a
smaller.
new Sierra blue.
Cut out.
Yeah, that's a chunky bump. Chunky bump.
All right. Chunky bump.
Yeah.
This is
You
where
can tell we are
start
90
to-
minutes into
to
the show.
rating.
I like that blue
Alright.
though. The Sierra blue color is nice with the gold and the silver as well. And then ceramic shield on the front with IP68 water resistance. So, Lexi, I'm looking forward to your water test that will inevitably come with this phone. I always love to see those.
Yes. Oh, it's always fun to do them. Interesting to dive into the specs of the water resistance rating, because IP68 can mean a lot of different things. and Apple keeps pushing it, even though other phones are 6.8. Anyway, long story short, I will look at the spec, and if it's greater than last year's, we will be testing it.
Yes.
All right.
I saw an accessory I didn't recognize. They're talking about MagSafe accessories. Yeah. I mean, they were going really fast. I think they're going to come back to it. They're like, here's all the great stuff inside. So this is all about. Like,
was that so there was a case and then there was the wallet, like the card holder that went on the back of the case as kind of a sort of a card-shaped sized flat piece that went on the back of the case. Was that it? We'll come back.
It was after the typical wallet. Yeah, it was like a white kind of thing. Anyways, maybe. I've seen about gaming and how the A15 Bionic chip has a 5-core GPU.
And did
we actually did have a comment. Yes, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Andrew in the YouTube comments who did actually tell us that surgical seal is friendlier to those of us with metal allergies. Thank you so much. That's genuinely interesting. Like I had no idea. So I've learned something new today. And Jamie has also commented, might be less likely to rust from moisture from hands or oil. That's actually a really good point. Thank you. I feel like my rant has actually provided some productive commentary. I'm going to definitely research more. Thanks so much, Stephen and Jamie and Andrew. Thank you so much. Good to know. You're all listening.
This is so good. We've got some great viewers here today in the comments.
Refresh.
And it's going to toggle up between, depending on what you're doing, it's going to toggle the refresh rate from 10 hertz up to 120 hertz, depending on what you're doing. So they're showing a demonstration of fast scrolling. That's when you use the 120 hertz. And then when you're just still looking at a screen, that's when you're going to get, like, it'll go down to 10 hertz. So they're calling that ProMotion from the looks of things. A capability to kind of adjust the refresh rate, which is good to see. Hopefully that means that if there's better battery, it'll not eat the battery.
Yeah, that's the same. So ProMotion is what's on the iPad Pro, I should say. And an adaptive refresh rate is kind of similar to how other phones with that functionality, like the Samsung most recent Galaxy phones, do that. They actually switch between whatever refresh rate is more suitable to the application that you're doing on screen, and also to conserve battery life as well. So it's a similar thing. Going to be interesting to see if it's if ProMotion is something that you'll be able to toggle on or off manually, like if you don't necessarily, if you want to conserve battery life potentially, and you're doing, a lot of intensive scrolling, a lot of movie watching, and things like that, maybe you would, just to have an idea if you could actually turn it off or not is interesting. Showing some gaming applications here, which is obviously having 120 hertz or a higher refresh rate is something that, people who game a lot on their devices definitely want. I actually love watching back videos in 120 hertz, especially something that is filmed in either slow motion or a higher refresh rate, like a 60 frames a second, or you can even shoot even higher. It looks really nice with a high refresh rate screen. I'm definitely a person that likes to take advantage of that. And just scrolling is nice too.
Whereas Bridget and I, yesterday we were chatting about it, and I was like, it's not a feature, it's not a must-have for me. I'm always like way more interested. Well, I suppose everyone's interested in the camera specs, but I had to admit that when I first switched to a 120 hertz phone, I didn't actually notice the difference, really. I suppose, I do notice it when I go back to older phones, so that's probably a better way of putting it. Like, I didn't necessarily notice that when I switched to my latest and greatest Samsung phone that it was a 120 hertz refresh rate, but when I use my husband's phone, which is a slightly older one, oh my goodness, I'm always like, why is your phone so slow? And I blame him personally for the phone not working. So I'm a very impatient person. I'm a great person.
Most people will not be thinking about that refresh rate, but here we get to the cameras. This is where people are really giddy about what you can do.
Well, it's one of those things where it's
just looking at the. Go, Claire.
Sorry, go, Lexi.
Oh no, I was just going to talk about some of the camera specs. But please continue your thought, and I'll get into the nerdy stuff later.
I was just going to say a lot of these features are, the average user might not necessarily know that they'll pick up the phone and go, oh, the iPhone 13, why yes, it has that 120 hertz refresh rate that I have been looking for, or it has that, that pro cinematic mode, but then they'll just use the device and it'll feel really easy to use.
I also like how now both of the telephoto cameras, it looks like, are getting 3 times optical zoom. So previously the iPhone 12 Pro had 2 times optical zoom and the Pro Max had 2.5 times. So now both of them getting 3 times is nice, and also the ability to do macro photography. But it looks like that's on which lens was that? Was that on the ultra wide lens? Yeah, so it looks like you'll be able to use the ultra wide lens for a couple of different applications. Macro photography on phones has always been very hit and miss. I trust Apple is going to get this one right, because a lot of cameras that have, or phone cameras that have dedicated macro lenses, the results look terrible. So that's nice that they're making use of the ultra wide, and I'm going to look forward to seeing some of the results. Those photos look pretty impressive though.
Yeah.
That was my chance to geek out about macro photography, and also though, like, excited that we're talking f1.5 on the wide camera. Basically means more light, faster aperture, hopefully less chance of all things like blur. You can do better night photos, better video recording. Excited.
You geeking out helped me, Lexi, because I desperately needed to have some water after I almost lost my voice just for a moment there. So thank you for geeking out for all of us.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. I'm literally just hoping someone enjoys the camera geekery. But if it helps you take a sip of water, that works too.
Yeah. And so thank you, BVG, on the back end for us. He just threw up all of those camera specs on the 3 lenses on the back of the iPhone 13 Pro, which is always super helpful because I always miss them in the moment, but it's nice to do those kind of spec comparisons, which I don't know, I think there's some people that, I don't know, especially when Apple uses a lot of kind of their own branding and language, be like, what am I actually getting with this device? What's the upgrade? And that's where you need the numbers and you need that kind of comparison to really help you out and kind of show you what each device has. Doesn't make me crazy that they don't talk about battery capacity. Just tell me I need the number.
Yes, I know, that would be nice. So Photographic Styles, it's interesting that they're bringing this option to do a lot of the tweaking of the photo qualities themselves, or the editing process in the Apple Camera app, or at least the Photos app. So, a lot of third-party apps offer sort of similar functionality. To be able to do that on the core level is interesting, and again, something we need to dive into more, because if it's something that you can do with the ProRAW files. Do I keep getting this? My brain is fried this morning. ProRAW, ProRes files. Yeah, that's exciting. Video time. Okay. Are we going to get the thing that I've been hoping for the whole show?
Well, I think they are taking us there.
This entire episode of
Oscar
Ted Lasso has been filmed a bit.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Here comes the video.
Ooh.
I'm
Here
waiting.
comes Catherine Bigelow to talk about how the iPhone doesn't require ancillary equipment. And so, yeah, the photographic styles. I am looking for what they're calling this, though. What version of Pro language are we going to see?
Yes, interesting. Well, that looks like they... So that looks like I saw on the screen she locked the focus. So she wasn't using the cinematic mode there. But what's this? Just tell us the feature.
It looks great.
Is it something to do with stabilization? There's a lot of movement.
This is amazing. They're showing this whole shooting setup with a kind of a jury-rigged iPhone on a little mount, and I guess they're talking about how you would be able to, that's the whole messaging, right? You create cinematic quality videos, films on your own device, and therefore you can kind of be the equivalent of Catherine Bigelow. Okay, so they're showing the cinematic mode right now on the iPhone 13 Pro. gosh, that focus will, although I do worry that it's going to just kind of randomly pull focus to the wrong thing when you don't need it. You know, for every great feature, there's always the time when it plays up. Oh, okay.
Well, the ability to choose the focus after you've recorded. Now that's cool. That's something that we saw many moons ago on light. I don't know if anyone out there remembers this thing called Litro. It was a light field camera. You could change the focus after you shot your image. Finally, that was like 10 plus years ago, I want to say, but no one picked it up because it was literally this like kind of rectangular camera. It was really long and like kind of a cube, elongated. So something similar. Interested to see. I don't think this is light field technology, but we'll wait and see. It looks very nice though. But I mean, you put any piece of equipment in the tool of a talent, in the hands of a talented cinematographer and director, and it's going to look pretty good. Let's be honest.
Someone in the comments just saying Apple should just release their own DSLR at this point.
Yeah,
maybe you don't need a DSLR.
Well, it's a DSLR that's a phone, really.
Yeah.
Except without interchangeable lenses. And the, full frame sensor. But, we're getting into semantics
all of those
now.
other important features, yeah.
All the other things that make a DSLR a DSLR, but hey.
So we're still starting at
mode. Keep going,
yeah.
Claire.
No, I was about to pivot. You talk about cinematic mode.
Well, the depth effect is something that's captured, and it is like it is kind of like the light field effect, but it is captured. It's using the LiDAR scanner on the back of the phone to be able to adjust focus and basically create that depth map, and so you can change the focus afterwards. ProRes video, yay!
ProRes video, it's real. Patrick somewhere just doing a little jig of delight right now, being delighted about this. So the ability to, I guess, having this codec that's going to capture more data, be kind of better quality. Record in 4K at up to 30 frames per second in the camera app. End-to-end pro workflow. So maybe a lot of kind of average users might not just use this for their day-to-day family videos, but for people who are starting to use it as a more of a professional device, maybe people on our team who are shooting video, this kind of thing is going to be a big game changer. I'm interested. The question I was going to ask
for CNET now on.
You go, Bridget.
We're all talking over each other. No, I was just saying I shoot everything for CNET now on an iPhone. So it's interesting if you're in the field to do like editing right on the phone itself. It's not something you do every day, but it is showing you how powerful this thing is for professional users. Hence the pro in the name. Mm-hmm.
Okay, longest battery life ever on an iPhone, 1.5 hours longer. The Pro is 1.5 hours longer than the 12 Pro, and the Pro Max is 2.5 hours longer than the 12 Pro Max. So 1.5 to 2.5 hours increase.
The Pro Max already had a pretty good battery. The 12 Pro, okay, so on a typical day, let's say I start using the phone at like 7:30, 8 a.m., and I have maybe 4 or 5 hours of screen time, I'll get to around 6:30 and I'll have to charge my phone. So I will now, with the 13 Pro, be able to charge my phone at 8 p.m. So potentially a 12-hour a day. Still not enough.
That's crazy to me.
Or something's wrong with my phone or the way I use my phone potentially.
Oh, we've got prices here.
Interesting.
The 13 Pro starting from $999 from $1,000, and then the iPhone 13 Pro Max from $1,100, and up to $1,000 off when you trade in a qualifying iPhone. And of course, the Pro iPhone will come with the option of 1 terabyte storage. So they've gotten rid of the 64 gig storage, and it's going to go 128, 256, 512, and 1 terabyte. Technically slightly more than 1 terabyte if you do the math from the 128, 256, 512, but it's just
but then it's slightly less because you've got to factor in iOS 15 and all of the system updates.
Of course.
That do take up some extra room.
Of course.
So you win some, you lose some. Available September 24. All right.
Okay.
So
10
did they
days
say
from now.
anything about pre-orders? Pre-orders this
Friday.
Friday, like
Friday's
usual,
pre-orders.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
That's what it said.
There we
Do
go.
you guys see that on the screen right now?
Wake-up call.
No more plastic wrap. You don't get that satisfying new iPhone unpeel anymore.
Oh.
Yes, it's better for the environment, but what are all these unboxing folks going to do?
The unboxing is literally lifting the lid. It's going to lift the lid and be like, there you go, there's the phone. World's shortest
So
unboxing.
glad that those unboxing videos do have that 1 second of ASMR so that plastic can live in the environment for more than 1,000 years. Yeah, I said it. I said it.
Yeah, good
Okay,
call.
so
Well,
looks
if
like
you
we're
can
doing a wrap
recycle
up.
that plastic through, yes. I don't even know if that plastic is recycled. It's not in traditional recycling systems. Probably it's a return to store thing. Anyway, I've been geeking out too much on recycling plastic lately.
Soft plastics
So I
recycling.
don't think
Lexi,
we're
let's
gonna
take
get
this
the
offline and I'll
iPhone.
talk about it.
Yes. I'm all here for it.
I don't think we're going to get the iPhone 12 Pro anymore.
Is the 12 Pro dead? Well, they did that with the 11 Pro last year when they announced the 12 Pro. I think they discontinued the 11. That's normal. The Pro line
we were having the
doesn't usually have
conversation.
as much sell-through.
We're having the conversation that they may discontinue with the kind of global chip shortage we're facing. They may discontinue older lines quicker because they don't want to keep throwing chips into old phones that have got a kind of lower return for the companies. So are we going to see them kind of put all of their chips, into the newer basket phones? And that could affect how we see those older phones getting phased out, which is kind of a whole different way of thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, it's $1,100 for an iPhone Pro, like Pro Max. That's a very good shooting machine. Like, it's a very fancy device. I mean, even for me, I'm wondering whether probably use a lot of the features for work. But I think other than that, if you've got really good camera features on the 13, that cinematic mode is coming to the 13. So it's just the sort of the regular iPhone 13. So, do you need the Pro if it's unless you're kind of doing that really ProRes quality? Oh, and there's the health and safety. So it's over.
It's done. We didn't get the one more thing, but we got some beautiful shots of the California countryside, San Francisco, and some drone shots. Is anybody else a fan of those Apple TV wallpapers? I don't know if anyone else has an Apple TV, but they do those kind of very mesmerizing wallpapers where you just drone shots and you're just this is beautiful. I'm going to fall asleep to my screensaver. It kind of reminded me of that, but sped up. Stare at it. It's beautiful. Okay, well, welcome back to CNET Live. If you've still been with us throughout the whole show, thank you. And thanks for joining us. It looks like the Apple event itself has just wrapped up. Let's go through some of the key products that were announced today. So a bit of a surprise, we did get a couple of iPads. Bridget, do you want to tell us which iPads we got and just kind of some of those key features? And are you excited about the new iPads as someone who just got a mini?
Have we got Bridget?
All right, did we lose Bridget? Okay, no worries, Bridget.
I can tell you about
Don't
the
worry.
iPads.
You're all good. We can hear you now.
Okay,
Bridget.
great.
All good.
Good. I was going to say, I think I'm probably going to miss a few features, but what you got is your basic iPad has an upgrade, still has a home button, has a newer processor, better camera. In fact, better cameras are coming to both the iPad and the iPad mini. The whole idea that we are all doing video chat just like this right now. And we want something that is, a little more smoother and better, and it has that ability to kind of follow you. The camera you perch it somewhere and can kind of follow you around. And then there's also the mini, which gives you more screen space, takes away the Touch ID home button, but no panic attack needed because we have Touch ID in the power button on the side like we saw in other iPads, and that the iPads are having at least the mini, it looks like too. They have USB-C connectors for charging. So this looks like a little bit of a blend of great student tool, great professional tool for the mini when you want to take it out and do things. I don't have a need to upgrade because it's a small upgrade from last year's model, but certainly for people who are looking for a different kind of tool on the go, this is giving them, because people don't upgrade their iPads every year, right? You don't need to do that. But essentially, if you've noticed your past year with your kid on Zoom is a little sluggish, you might start looking at this.
Sounds good. Are you thinking about a bit of buyer's remorse now, seeing the new iPads, Bridget?
No, I'm good. I'm good. In fact, I watched the whole presentation on my iPad mini on the side. And this thing is loaded up with like PBS Kids and whatnot, so this is what my kids use. And I have a nice old hunky little case for them that the Apple Store was selling. And it's been great. It's actually making me feel like maybe I want to get another. I'm not in a rush, but I have 2 kids, so maybe I don't have to fight over it. I like the idea that it's got a lot of good camera features because for being able to chat with the grandparents, and at the same time, I don't really need the 5G because I'm not. But if I ever had to take it, it's not what I would need, but it is kind of interesting to see it being kind of pushed as a more professional tool and less of extra thing around the house to watch a movie or game on.
Sounds good. And now, Claire, what was your read on the overall event? I know we watched it without sound, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it before I launched into my opinions. Were you impressed by the show and what Apple had to announce today, or were you kind of expecting a little bit more?
Well, it's interesting. The show itself, I think, we've had a few of these digital-only streaming events, so kind of fewer wow factor elements where, the first time we zoomed around the Apple campus, it was a real novelty. Now, I think seeing someone perform in front of a huge, empty kind of audience space on a stage, it's sort of like, oh, that's right, we still can't do this in person. So less wowed by the actual presentation of the event itself. Good event. I think maybe not as much as I wanted, but I think the hard thing now is we get so many leaks, hints, rumors ahead of the event that basically these devices have to carry the weight of expectation of the whole world expecting, oh, well, it's going to have blood glucose, blood pressure. Obviously, it's going to monitor your sleep. It's going to be able to make breakfast for you, all of those kinds of things. It can never be everything to everyone, especially in a pandemic, especially we have to remember that production has been really hit. Global logistics have been really hit. There's no chips available. So they are kind of a bit limited in that respect. I know some people in the YouTube comments were sort of saying, we're a bit disappointed, we're hoping for more, I wanted this, I wanted that feature. That said, I think the camera features on the iPhone, really, really good. So Watch left me a little disappointed, to be honest. I think I was hoping for a little bit more there. That kind of felt more like an S update on the Watch. With that kind of a few iterations, a bit of, cycling features, meditation, fall detection. It's a bit thinner, it's a bit brighter, faster charging, dust resistance, water resistance, kind of longer battery life. We saw some of those features announced, but that's not enough for me. I'm a demanding lady. But yeah, it was okay. I think where I was really excited was the iPhone, seeing some of those great shooting modes coming into the mini and to the regular iPhone 13. Really great to see. And then, of course, getting ProRes up to those Pro models. Sometimes people buy the Pro because they want the best, they want the most expensive, they want the fanciest. It's nice to know that, actually you get really awesome features on just the regular iPhone 13, and maybe the Pro is really more for pro users who want really good shooting modes, the ability to do some of those, to have that kind of ProRes, that codec for their video files. And that's obviously going to increase your storage. So it's going to increase the files on your phone. So of course we've got the bump up to 1 terabyte at the very, very top of the line. And yeah, we've got the prices there. The whole lot starting from, for the Pro, $999, for the Pro Max, $10.99, and for the regular iPhone 13, let me just pull up my prices. pricing, I believe it was $6.99 and $7.99. I will just double check that for you, but I think that was the pricing that we had on the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 13 mini. But yes, Lexi, I'm keen to hear. Yes, so $6.99 for the iPhone 13 mini, $7.99 for the iPhone 13, then up for $9.99 for the Pro and $10.99 for the Pro Max. Lexi, give me your opinion. I did ramble a lot there, so I want to hear what you have to say.
No, I loved it. I loved it. Thank you, because it also gave me a chance to go over and check some of the specs. Thank you to everyone who's just jumped on the live stream, breaking down everything about the Apple event that we just all watched together. If you have any questions, you can throw them in the YouTube chat or on Twitter. On CNET Live is our hashtag, so feel free. If we can't get to them now, we'll jump in later and respond to any questions that you might have. Yeah, overall, I think that Apple really did leave the best till last. I mean, we weren't expecting an iPad, so I think that was a nice surprise up top. The Apple Watch, obviously, there have been some of those production delays that were rumored, just because we haven't received any kind of information about when we can pre-order the Apple Watch or when it's going to be released, just later this fall or later this year. So I think that was a little disappointing, because I think Apple Watch is such a strong performer for Apple. In terms of just basically acquiring a new audience in many ways, people that are kind of dipping their toes into wearables. The Apple Watch is still probably the best one that you can buy, depending on, I mean, this one's very contentious, but I think that is true. As someone who's tested all of the different wearables on a bunch of different platforms, unless you're going for something like the brand new Galaxy Watch 4, the Apple Watch is still really best in class. And so I think not having any kind of wow feature to get new people in, say like those rumored features like blood glucose monitoring, even though we weren't expecting that, I think I was a little disappointed we didn't get a new design either. But to Bridget's point, which was really actually something that made me think about this, you know, the practicality of having those square designs, or slabular, as our friend Patrick Holland would say, is probably not very practical. It would probably be very uncomfortable. Imagine trying to sleep with that. And I can kind of see that now after, Bridget, you brought that up. But really the best was saved to last. I think the iPhone was the star of this show, especially we were expecting it to, but I think it has pretty much fulfilled that promise, especially on the Pro features. And I did like how we were talking about this through the actual live show itself, is that the delineation between the 13 and the 13 mini, and the 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max, it no longer feels like you're kind of getting less features necessarily on the like less expensive phones or the non-Pro phones. You're still getting a lot of those cool camera tricks. You're still getting the battery performance. You're getting those upgrades from iOS 15. The Pro line is really starting to, at least it feels a little bit more like, as you were saying, Claire, it's more for a Pro consumer, with those extra camera features, with the higher refresh rate. Let's be honest, how many people who generally own phones who are not really keeping up to date with tech are really going to care about having a higher refresh rate? I don't think many people really would be able to say, if you went up to them on the street, hey, what's 120 hertz mean? Or, what does a high refresh rate screen mean? Do you want that? And they'd be like, I don't know, what does that mean? So I think that there's probably less demand for that on the lower end. But I think that the presentation for iPhone was actually really exciting. I think there's a lot of features to dive into, particularly around camera performance and those extra tools. Again, probably 9 people out of 10 are really not going to use those features to their full capacity, but it's nice to have them there. And it's a good sign that we are actually starting to see the Pro feeling Pro. Anyway, that was my read on the event. I don't know about you, Bridget. Oh, sorry, Claire.
Oh,
jump in.
No, I was just going to throw a quick mention to answer some of the questions we're getting a lot of in the YouTube comments. There were no AirPods today. Nothing about AirPods. Pre-orders for the phones are starting Friday, but the Apple Watch is not coming out until the fall. And we did see a 120 hertz refresh rate on the display for the iPhone, and also the new colors are, there's a very, very pale pink that I don't really think counts as a pink, but that's my hot take. That's on the iPhone 13 and mini. And then we've got the Sierra blue, kind of a soft powder blue on the Pro and the Pro Max, and everything else. There are people literally asking questions that we're answering in real time. So, the rest of those people can listen to what we're saying. But yeah, Bridget, we'll throw to you. Lexi, you had a question for Bridget.
Yeah, just, your kind of, before we wrap up, your read on the event, not just exclusively talking about the iPads, of course, but and everything else. Do you feel like this was something that kind of made you excited again? I mean, I feel like it's been a tough year for many people, and a lot of these tech events, like, it's kind of something to look forward to in many ways, or at least maybe it's just for me. I'm nothing else going on, so I look forward to these big events to see what's happening. What was your read on the event?
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah, like if there's any tech event to follow, it's always like, what is Apple going to do with the iPhone? But it was a fitting event for what's going on now because they focused a lot on outside, a lot of emphasis on getting out there with your Apple Watch. Not like I totally called it wrong, by the way, on that Tim Cook tweet tease. That was more about like, hey, go bike outside and fall down, and then we'll be able to track that, and it's more durable. So it was talking about durability, a lot more talk about what we can do with our front-facing cameras on our iPads. We're all talking about iPads more than we were before the whole pandemic. So, it was fitting for the tone, but not as exciting as, hey, are you going to change everything and like make me think about tech differently? Oh no, it's just the insides are better. Cool. All right, thanks. Gaming better, camera better. Cool. So a part of us are always thirsty for some new way of thinking about technology. And here we got, don't worry, just chill. You're going to get a much better camera experience. And if you need to upgrade because you've been hanging on to it for a while, you don't have to feel left out by going to the iPhone 13 and not going to the Pro. That said, I got to dig them for the color because they didn't even try on colors this year. It's always a fun little nugget. Like, I know colors don't matter. You put a case on it anyways. But come on, they didn't even try. They used to make a big deal about things like rose gold. There was rumors about bronze for a little bit. Nothing. Like, it's like, okay, fine. Clearly, we don't care about showing our phones off because we're not seeing anyone to show them off to. So it's about what it could do on the inside. And so there you go. I think that really became much of the focus, just capturing life and going outside and having a good experience.
Going outside, isn't that a novel, nice thing? So one more thing to mention is iOS 15 is out on Monday. Is that right, Claire? Is that confirmed?
That's right. Yeah, we had a few people in the comments asking about when iOS 15 was coming out, and I just checked with our colleagues, and iOS 15 is out Monday, this coming Monday.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And that means all of the other full releases I expect would be coming out, next week, which is exciting. If you're not into buying a new device, you can make your older one feel slightly newer with the new iOS updates. Thank you so much for watching. That is a wrap for CNET Live here on the Apple event. My name is Lexi Savides. Thank you so much for joining us and keeping us company over the past couple of hours. Of course, all of the latest Apple news is up on cnet.com right now. We'll be having lots of extra commentary. We're going to have some video wraps about what you've seen today and lots more over the coming days. Claire and Bridget, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure as always. So good to
Delightful.
see you.
Yes.
And thank you behind the scenes to Brian Van Gelder, Stephen Beach, and Bonnie Gannon, our design team, Viva, Amy, Justin, and everyone else at CNET Video. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, and we will catch you next time. Maybe, I don't know, in October. There might be another Apple event. Who knows? Fingers crossed. Got nothing else to do with my time except sit here and think about Apple events. See you later.
Bye.